along, we are going to go to our second recipe, and it's a comforting egg and rice soup. This soup is Japanese inspired, and it's a nourishing meal that is good at any time of day. And it can help refuel your energy and also help rehydrate your body, especially if you're having a lot of, loose bowel movements, diarrhea. And the cooked white rice is gentle on the digestive system, and the egg, which is excellent quality protein. Don't worry about using the whole egg, include the yolk, and it's helpful for healing. The soup does not require a lot of energy to make, and the other great thing about it is that it uses common ingredients that most of us have in our kitchen, so it probably will not require a special trip to the grocery store. Okay, take it away, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniela. So yes, we're making this really nice comforting soup. It is Japanese inspired from a dish. I know I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but it's zuzi, which is essentially a rice soup. It's sort of the Japanese variation of like a congee, but the preparation is slightly different. And one of the main differences is that you're using pretty much leftover cooked rice. So if you had some leftover cooked rice from a dish, and this is just plain white rice, it's a little hard to see with the light. There we go, and it's already cooked. This is going to cook just a little bit further to soften even more, and it's going to create this really, really nice body for the soup. Super simple. You can make this within like 10 minutes. And like Daniela said, you can use a few ingredients that you have in the pantry, and then you can sort of customize it to your liking. So we're going to show you like a pretty just standard version of it, and then we can talk about some ways in which we can add a little bit more if you like. But we're going to make just a really nice, simple, comforting version of this egg and rice soup. So we're going to take you to the broth. I think that's the first thing. Again, talking about flavor, because we have maybe some limitations in terms of the ingredients we can use doesn't mean that we have to skimp on flavor. So for that broth, again, we keep it simple. We can use just a store-bought vegetable broth, chicken broth. They have good, better quality ones now. You can get like no sodium added ones now, which are great. If you wanted to add some more flavor, if you wanted to bump up that taste, again, we're gonna reach for our umami, which is that savoriness, and it's found in ingredients like dried mushrooms. So you've seen us use dried mushrooms before. I think these are a great little pantry item, a great little sort of chef's secret to keep on hand. These are little shiitakes, dried shiitakes. You can get even dried porcinis, but a little bit goes a long way. And even just a few inside of a broth is going to really enhance that flavor. It's going to give this really, really nice sort of savory deliciousness, this umami that's going to help to boost. And all you have to do, again, you can just use a store-bought stock, or even if it's just water and you don't have a stock on hand, you're making your own little mushroom broth by just adding a few of these and steeping it like you would steep some tea. And you get this gorgeous color just from steeping the mushrooms in here. You can see it's really, really nice golden brown color here. It smells fantastic. And that's like 5 minutes steeping the mushrooms. And then you can take them out. You can strain them out after, which is great. To add a little more flavor to this broth, I'm also adding a nice chunk of ginger. Okay, and so I've added that in with the dried mushrooms just to let that steep, and that's going to also enhance and give it its flavor. And if you need to remove it, it's very easy to remove at that state. So just peel the ginger, maybe slice it in half, and then you throw it in to let it steep with the broth. But now we have our broth. And at this point here is when we're going to add our cooked white rice. Now, if you want it a little bit on the creamier side, then you could just add the rice directly into the soup. much or as little as you like. It all depends on how much you really want in there. It's not gonna recipe too much. You're gonna have it all. So it's about, I would say, about 2 cups of soup to about 3 cups of stock in this case. Okay. Now, if you want it not as creamy, you want it a little bit lighter, then what you can do is actually rinse. Even though it's cooked, you can rinse the rice. So throw it in a strainer, rinse the rice. That's going to rinse off any excess starch, which in this case, if you don't want that starch sort of thickening up that broth a little bit, you can rinse it off in advance. We're going to keep it in here, okay? And we're going to just gently cook this for another 2 minutes. It's already soft because the rice is cooked. If you want to cook it and break it down even more, you can definitely cook it down even more than that, okay? Now, while that is doing its work, we're going to get our egg. It's an egg and rice soup. And I'm going to crack 1 egg in here, so you can see it. Twist this up. Whisk it really well, and that way it combines nicely in the broth. And to this, to season it, I'm actually going to add just a little bit of soy sauce to this. And you can use a low sodium soy sauce if you want less salt. Put a teaspoon in there. So I'm adding that instead of salt. Beautiful egg. And I know it hasn't been 2 minutes, but let's assume it's 2 minutes. So we have we want our soup on a sort of gentle simmer, and you not rolling. It's not a rolling boil. I have some small bubbles, and that's exactly what we want here. And then while it's simmering, I'm going to take my whisked eggs and I'll stir the soup while I slowly pour these eggs in. And what you'll start to see is the ribbons of that egg form. As it starts to cook, simmering broth. And once you start to see that egg sort of scramble in there, you can leave it on for 30 seconds, minute or so, and it's done. And that's how quick and how simple this is. Have this really gorgeous, flavorful broth, soft rice, scrambled egg, and again, taking a little bit of care in terms of the flavor to bump it up where we need to. But other than that, if you can see it here, again, it's nothing, I mean, super glamorous or fancy, but I'm telling you, this is pure comfort. It's really nice and soothing, really satisfying, and definitely very delicious. Back to you, Daniela.
It actually looks really good. And it takes me back to when I was a little kid and had GI upset. And the doctor told my mom to make stracciatella soup, which is kind of similar to that recipe. The other thing you can do with this recipe, there are some vegetables that are low in fiber that if you wanted to bump it up a little bit, you could add. Now it's just, so some of the ones that you could add are well-cooked green beans or yellow beans, zucchini, but you definitely have to make sure that you peel the skin and remove the seeds, and you can put a few slices of that. carrots, but just make sure that it's well cooked. Just use a little bit. You'll get your veggies and you won't be bumping up the fiber too much, and your GI system should still be okay with that.